Hello and Aloha Pa, the Baha'i greeting. God is glorious. To all the people of the planet, time is 12:17. Today is getting to be the 7th of September. I'm planning to finish these videos in time because not much of it is left for a lot of people. Last night I spoke to you about marriage as an institution. Tonight I'm going to be talking about preparations of marriage. All right. There are three areas that we have to investigate. The first thing is to start with ourselves. As a person who can marry, are we ready as people? Do we understand what is it that we are going through? What's involved? Do we know the task? And are we not kidding with ourselves? Do we really want to marry or just want to be having some kind of a partial relationship? What I'm saying, of course, is not applicable to the countries like India, Islamic countries, because they are using the old system. And marriage is not something new for them. However, it's an old system, but still works. Even when they come to the Western countries, the first generations of these marriages works most of the time. So I'm really addressing the marriage for those countries, such as Western countries, or even the people with any country that they've divorced this old-fashioned religions and old way of thinking, and for the new way of life, they don't have a standard as what to do. There's no pattern. So the first of these three things that we have to investigate is we have to investigate ourselves. We have to test ourselves, and we have to make sure that we can and we want and we have the capability and capacity of marriage. Of course, the problem is that most of us, when we fall in love, we think that we found the right person. And many of us who married, they know after marriage things can change. So the initial estimations and the message that we're getting from some beautiful eyes looking at us, it may not last very long. It could be a small relationship of an annual and perennial plants that will die eventually. So I think the order of priorities in our head and in our brain, our life, and our system, we have to understand this order of priority, which I classified always as the economical, social, and spiritual. We have to know how these things they work. There's an order of priority in the universe. You can't say I marry this person because she's rich and I don't care about how she looks. Or I'm going to marry this person because she has a very sexy body. I don't care what she does and how bad her attitude is. If you approach like this, as like saying not A, B, C, D, but you're saying A, C, D, A, L. Or not 1, 2, 3, 4, but 4, 1, 1, 3, 20. It's the order is not in there. There's an order of priority in the universe. You have to have the love. You have to love the person. Then you can question that. Okay, I love this character, but I want her body also to be nice. But I want her also to have a great job and great family and all of that. But first thing first. In our head, we have to understand what is these things most important for us. Is it money and economical status? Or we're looking for social affairs. We like to marry sooner. We don't care that much about money. More important is for love and marriage to another person for us. Or no, we have some other calling in ourselves, like I had, that I'm a spiritual being and I'm going to be on the spiritual front. I want to go do something positive for the people. In that case, things change. So we have to understand this order of priority. We have to say to ourselves. Why is that? Is because, I don't know, especially those who are younger, older people can tell you that. There is no way out for humanity that to get out of one thing. And that is, he always overestimate and underestimate the situations. There's no way to escape it. I do it all the time. Always this is the case. So how do we get this going? You know, there's always this uncertainty principles that's in physics. It runs in metaphysical life too. There's always an element of uncertainty. How do we deal with this, you see? How do we know this time we did not make a mistake? What if we did? You know, you marry, you made a mistake. You don't marry, you also is making a mistake. What's then the right things to do? The best way is the consultations. See, we need to consult with the people that are close to us. First of all, mom and dad. Then, you know, brother and sisters, if they have a good relationship. And cousins. And finally, the close friends who are just listening to who you are and they try to describe you. Sometimes we just need a mirror to be in front of it to see how we look, just like physical way we do. A friend is like that. Mother and father is like that. I always say that. A dentist needs to go to another dentist if he wants to fix his own tooth. A dentist cannot fix his own tooth. You might be great to solve other people's problem, but you may not be great in solving your own problem. So it's better somebody else to look at your parameters and say how you look. Just like you can't see all part of your body without the help of others in mirrors and pictures. And same thing, your spirit and your psyche is the same way. Somebody has to tell you what you are. Things, and they have to tell you honestly. Sometimes you don't want to listen to that. But people can tell you that you are a hard person to get along with, or you are stubborn, or you are persisting and insisting too much on something. So you have to hear those things and take a note and find out how true it is. And if you can't defend yourself against this opinion, well, explain yourself out. Maybe then you're a person that gets misunderstood. Because this is the case. There's three process. A bachelor, when marries, then he becomes a spouse. He's no longer the one that he was before. It's a trade. You have to give up the freedom and the opportunities that you have as a bachelor in order to be married. Are you getting a good deal? Are you tired of being a bachelor? You've seen that life. Now you want to get married. Then you have to know what the responsibilities are, because you haven't done it. Others have to help you out with this, and you have to understand. Same is that when you're a spouse, husband or wife, there's another transformation when you become a parent. Now the cycle is complete. A man has to have a connection to the past and to the future. When you have children, the cycle is complete, and you understand what your father went through or your mother. So number one, then, in order to get rid of this overestimation and underestimation, is to ask others for consultations. Very important. So at the end of these things, we have to create a list of what we are and what are the things that are important to us. You know, you're like a book. Where is the content? Where's the glossary and tells you who you are, what chapter's in. And we could give it to the person we're going to marry, and then she maybe give it to us. Because one of the biggest things in the life for a person, that from a bachelor when he becomes a spouse, is to understand what's compromise. This compromise is the greatest attribute. So without it, we will not be able to live with another person, especially that close as a spouse, where you see your actual naked bodies. With nobody in the world you have that relationship. So you're closest as possible you could be. So you have to have a list created for that person so they can see. Because life, as Western people they like to do, and the psychologists, the stupid psychologists in the West, they like to think it's like another mechanical things. It's just like a logo. You put it together, you do all of these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, you get there. Nothing like this. Life is an unpaved road of your own that you have to do it. Others have done. You can learn how they've done it. Yours is different because you're a different person. Your face is different. God does not allow plagiarism. You can't follow another person. You fail otherwise. You have to find your own ways. And how do you get into the road that you haven't been in there? You have to be like a driver. A driver who goes from here to Vancouver cannot close his eyes because he heard at 1 minute you have to turn left, at 2 minutes you can turn right, and then you get there. No, it's not like this. Living with each other, together with other people, living to have a good future is an art. You have to learn just how to drive your car. When the road turns, you turn. Life is just the same. It's an unpaved. It's not some kind of mechanical things you put it here. It's rather dynamic and dialectic. So, the second important matter is the investigation of the person you want to marry with. Well, we know part of it in the West even, that they check your physical and medical to see your blood goes with other blood. But you got to go further more to find out if this person is snoring when he's sleeping, or is a athlete food, or is a bad smell of his mouth. All that has to be done because some of it is impossible for some people to live. Don't just fall into it and don't go blindly. Very politely but open-heartedly ask these questions as you are getting into relationship. Because at one point it's very difficult to compromise. Getting out is difficult when you get through this. I think you have to know the history of this person. His mother, his father, their disease. There are other things that they were involved, uncle and aunties, so that you do not have sick children, as it is in a lot of cases. And the attitude sometimes that's in your uncle and aunties goes into you. You may not be connected directly to your mom and dad, but your uncle and aunties. It is important that to know those things because all of them manifest and ramify later on in the life. What's been there, it's just going to show up again. Whether it was a bad upbringing or a good upbringing, it will show itself up. Okay, a dysfunctional person, it's okay to marry it, but you have to know what you're dealing and what are the symptoms of that. Okay, a lot of these people are casual people. Whether they mom and dad, they got divorced, or they themselves start to have sex with other people, which is partial marriage in a way. So they can stay straight on a consistent path for a long time. I'm not saying if it is good to marry or it is bad. The Baha'i faith is not a compulsory thing to marry. You may not marry. The daughter of Baha'u'llah never married. She perhaps knew that she doesn't want to. So it's not therefore an act of a spiritual act to marry or not to marry. It's definitely a bad thing to get divorced, Baha'u'llah says. So estimate yourself very well and the person you are with, and look at the history and get a lot of consultations to make sure that these pieces, they go together. Okay? But the biggest one of them all, of these three ways to investigate marriage, I think, is that what in Baha'i faith is called the engagement period. It's about a maximum of 95 days before marriage, but you could go and repeat it and repeat it. This time that you're engaged with this person is the time that you're going to practice togetherness. You're going to practice the marriage. So one of the biggest things that no one has noticed, and you've never, maybe anybody have told you yet, is what I tell you tonight. When you marry a person, believe it or not, you are not going to live with that person. No. How is that possible? People ask me. I said, when you see a person there and you say, oh, lovely, oh, it's beautiful. At that time, you're living with that person. But if you get closer and closer, things will change. How what that means? Let me give you a physical example, you might know better. Imagine there is a blob, a characters of yellow, and then there's one is blue. They see each other as blue and yellow. It's blue and yellow till they start to touch. As soon as yellow touches the blue, all of a sudden what do you get? Green. That is called a relationship. The green is the relationship that is made between yellow and blue. When you marry a person, you live with the relationship that you make with that person. And that may be good, or it may not be good at all. This is what happened with me and my previous marriage. When people meet her and talk to her, they say she's a wonderful person. I agree. They say the same thing about me. They say, you two wonderful people. How would you end up in this divorce? I tell them it's like salt. Did you know the salt that we take, and a lot of people, they like it? It's actually made out of two poisons. Chlorine is an absolute poison that kills a person. Suffocates you, kills you. Worse than that is sodium. Sodium is an absolute poison. Cannot be touched with. But mix them together, you're getting salt. Sometimes people are like that. They individually are great. But when they get together, it becomes bad. And it may not show all these things on the first day. Sometimes it takes a year before a complete picture of the relationship shows up. And that may be really a poisonous one. Or other way around, it might be a good one. A thief is no good. Marries this woman, but she's also not so great. But together all of a sudden they are completely become docile and great people and amazing. Environment, system changes people. There's another factor. I perhaps would have been a great couple between me and her if we were in Iran, because we were born in that culture. We could have flourished within that culture. But when we come to Canada, we cut down the old culture. This one does not work. It undergoes mutation. Mutation is a theory I've spoken about in the evolution. That then this Dutch fellow took spring rose from America, it's a short plant, take it to Netherlands, to Holland. He found out there are different trees are coming up. Some of them are bigger leaves, smaller leaves, red leaves, And then he theorized theory of mutation. This mutation happens to us lots of times. You see? For example, your wife is great as it is right now. We don't know if we add a little bit more to this. Let's say all of a sudden you two win $1 million tickets. Big money. It may not survive it. Because additional, just like chemistry, it creates a situation where the relationship becomes poisonous. This is a huge matter. That's all about marriage and the stability of it. In a cultured country, where like India or Iran, we know where the road is. It's not so much unpaved. It's paved by so many others. You're following the same patterns. You kind of then instinctively would get attracted to the type that you have to. Sometimes those people, they even arrange their marriages. I mean, it works. Because they figure those who talk about love in the beginning, they'll only marry to hate each other. But mom and dad, they say we are, smart enough to know what our child wants. And they get these people to get married pre-arranged. In India, surprise, those marriages turn into a lovely relationship and it works forever. So what do we do? What's the concept here? You see, Baha'u'llah says no. People have to have their own choice in marriage, but this could be after they make a choice to be arranged by the parents to come and advise. In the Baha'i faith, if your mom and dad do not agree with it, you can marry. I said that before, if you're a Baha'i. Unless they disowned you or something. But otherwise, they're capable people, they have to agree with the marriage. If they don't, Baha'i marriage cannot take place. Because you are not you. You are, rest of you is in your mom and dad. It's like Japanese mortgage. One generation does not make you. You are you plus what your dad is. Together you're one. I can see your future right in your dad when I look at him. And if there are things in your dad that I don't like, I'll probably say that possibly, could this son go in the same way, unless there are measures taken. So, yeah, you never live with the person you marry with. You live with a relationship that you make with that person. All right. So, in an ideal situation, really in an ideal system like a Baha'i government, if it one day takes place, we don't know yet. Even God is not sure about it because it's up to the people. It's up to us how much we understand, how much we want to change, do we want to live in this planet. If we do, we create that. Baha'u'llah says 15 is the year of maturity. That's where you start to becoming a man. You understand sexual ability. That's about the time you're mature. Good time to marry. If the society is all ready, by then you're finished even your high school and you already get a job. You can support marriage in an ideal situations. So this type of people, they do not talk about, having sex before marriage. But we're not in such an ideal situation. Therefore, a lot of people at age 15 have started to be active sexually. And by God, by the time they become 20 and they did all their sexuality and now they want to get married, these people, they think they can't handle it. That is the case with the people in Hollywood. All their life they kill themselves. They have no life but to become an actor, an actress. So at age 40, when they've done all their life, they said, okay, time to get married. As if marriage is like pissing on a toilet.